All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to catch up with one of our favorites, NFL sports betting writer for Yahoo Sports, Frank Schwab, joins us. Frank, how are you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. So was the Super Bowl for you boring, or was it just very calculated in how, and you could see maybe the game within the game on what this coaching staff and these, especially these defenses, were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to say it was boring. It's still a Super Bowl. It's still fun to see, teams emerge and strategies and all that, but it wasn't exactly exciting. Like, it wasn't one of the best Super Bowls I've seen. Wasn't the worst either. So I respect it from just the defensive play calling of the Seahawks was so impressive. Mike Macdonald is just, when he was hired and people called him the defensive McVay, he kind of like, okay, come on, but he really is. Like, he's just brilliant on defense. And you could see it in this game. They knew where to attack. They knew how to attack. They had the Patriots just swimming. They could not protect whatsoever. So a lot of respect to what Seattle did all season. Like, we kept saying, oh, there's no great team. There's no great team. There's no great team. Well, you get to the end of it, and the Seahawks went 17-3, and their 3 losses were by 9 combined points. Pretty dominant. Not the typical elite quarterback, ton of offensive points, all that, but just a good, solid team that had a really, one of those defenses we'll look back on and say, yeah, the 2002 Buccaneers and the 2000 Ravens and the 2015 Broncos. They'll be in that conversation. They were that good all year.
Was Sam Darnold just the second coming of Trent Dilfer in that game, or do you feel like he deserves a little bit more credit than maybe he's getting?
Oh, a lot more credit. See, I hate this because people will be like, oh, look at he was terrible in the Super Bowl. One game before that, he threw for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns to beat the Rams. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's just, here's what it is. And this is the honest truth, and people out there need to look in the mirror because this is you, if you're still criticizing Sam Darnold. You don't want to admit you're wrong. You don't want to admit you're wrong about Sam Darnold. We dug in so hard on Sam Darnold being a bust that people do not want to admit they're wrong. And a guy who throws for 346 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions in an NFC Championship game, you can therefore just turn it on again in the Super Bowl and say, "I'll see, Sam Darnold stinks. I told you." Like, no, he doesn't. He has played. Let me do the math real quick right here. He's played 38 games over the last 2 seasons. 35 or about 34, 35 of those have been excellent. At some point, is he Patrick Mahomes? Is he Joe Burrow? No, he's not. He's not that guy, but he's a perfectly good quarterback who deserves everything coming to him. Did he have a great Super Bowl? No, he didn't. But he that ring is going to fit pretty well on him because he's earned it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And the interesting thing, everybody's been going young and offensive coaches. Does what we've seen from the Seattle staff, do people now take a step back and say, no, maybe we need to look at more defensive coaches?
Yeah, and I think you're still going to always have teams that want offensive coaches. Because, look, the Titans are a good example of a team that's got a conundrum coming. They hired Robert Saleh, who I thought was a great hire. I really, in a vacuum, I thought Saleh, anybody gets a pass from me if you struggled with the Jets, because the Jets are a tire fire. They're just a terrible organization that nobody can succeed at. So he struggled with the Jets, but I think it makes him stronger as a head coach the second time around. Now, the problem is he hires Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator. If Brian Daboll has a great year developing Cam Ward, if Cam Ward becomes a MVP candidate like Drake May did in the second year, somebody hires Wade Daboll, and he'll go to another offensive coordinator. If that offensive coordinator does well, that offensive coordinator gets hired away. This is what happened with the Buccaneers for a few years, right, with Canales and Cohen. So I think teams want that continuity for the quarterback, so they're always going to be looking for the Ben Johnson type. But I do think, you got to open your mind and say, maybe there's not a million Ben Johnsons out there. Maybe we got to go find the next Mike Macdonald instead. And, you saw a lot of defensive coaches get hired this cycle, and I think the tide is shifting. There's still a lot of value in the guys who can slow down those great offenses. And, I think that other teams will open their mind and say, hey, if we can't get that, next brilliant offensive mind as a head coach, getting a brilliant defensive mind is not that bad.
Are you surprised that Vance Johnson didn't get a opportunity, or does that era as the head coach of the Broncos still working against him?
Yeah, I think it is. It was so unimpressive that you just wonder if Vance Joseph is one of those guys who just kind of profiles as a really good coordinator and not a great head coach. And I don't know who in this cycle he would have gotten a job over necessarily. You could argue maybe Mike LaFleur. Like I wasn't jumping up and down for that hire. Like it was fine. Like yeah, I get it. The guy coached under McVay. You always want that. But so yeah, I think that he would have to have it. It's hard because he wasn't in a great situation when he got that job. I mean, the quarterback with the situation was just terrible. So. I mean, this is just the truth. Black head coaches have had trouble getting second chances. It has happened, but it's tougher. And you feel for Vance Joseph because he's probably sitting there saying, well, what could I have done better, really? Like, I was stuck with a really bad situation and a bad roster that first time in Denver. He's rehabilitated himself through a couple of great defenses with the Broncos here the last couple of years, and he can't get another shot. And I think that that's frustrating, not just for him, but for a lot of black coaches who look at look at them being shut out at 10 openings this year and say, what do we really need to do? Like, what can we do to make this situation better for us, or we're not going 0 for 10? I know that's frustrating for everybody involved who wants to see that change.
By the way, apologies, Vance Joseph, not Vance Johnson, for the Three Amigo reference from back in the
Ricky
day.
Ricky Nattiel is going in next.
Mark Jackson's going to be a great head coach, too, I'm sure. Yeah. Hey, when you look – speaking of the Broncos, with Vance coming back next year as a defensive coordinator, a healthy Bo Nix, in your power rankings going into next year, how high would you put the Broncos?
Yeah, and I just published those. So I had the Broncos third, I believe, behind the Seahawks and Rams, who I think deserve those top two spots going into next year. And a big reason why is I think probably people have heard this by now. The highest paid player on the Denver Broncos each of the last two seasons has been Russell Wilson. That comes off the books. And if we know anything about Sean Payton's history, Sean Payton teams spend in free agency. They get out the credit card. They don't care about future cap hits. They spend like they're, a 22-year-old on spring break. And it's just, and I expect the Broncos to be really, really aggressive this offseason with Russell Wilson's number off the books. All of a sudden, could they go and sign a Breece Hall? Could they go and sign an Alec Pierce? If you get some offensive firepower with that offense, I think they just lack it a little bit. Like R.J. Harvey wasn't what they wanted him to be, and J.K. Dobbins is fine, but he's always injured. The receivers are solid, but Cortland Sutton's probably best as a number two, and I'm not sure there's another great option in that offense. If you can go spend, not like the Patriots did this past off season, but spend a significant amount to add a couple pieces, which I definitely think they're going to do. I mean, last offseason they were aggressive. They got Ingram and Greenlaw and Huffenega. I mean, they're going to be even more aggressive this year with more money to spend. So I think the Broncos are going to be in great shape coming into next year. But I'll say this. I think the Chargers are really good, too. Like, the AFC West is going to be really interesting. The Chargers get those offensive tackles back. And I think the Chargers have the sixth most cap space in the NFL, something crazy like that. So I think the AFC West is just going to be a beast next year. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
How much, I mean, because he was up for, it seemed like, some head coaching jobs, but Mike McDaniel's the OC there.
Yeah, it helps tremendously. Like, I mean, I'll say this, if Jesse Minter would have come back somehow, which was never realistic because he's such a hot name in the coaching world, that if Minter would have come back, I probably would have picked the Chargers are ready to win next season's Super Bowl. Okay. I mean, to get McDaniel in there for the offense, I think it's a huge upgrade. I mean, he's going to have to, adapt and fit with what they have. But, I mean, Justin Herbert's such a good place to start with that. Their defense still has a lot of pieces. I wonder about the coordinator. We just don't have a lot of, he doesn't have a long NFL resume. I mean, he was one of the directional Michigan schools last year coaching defense. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but it's a risk. But if that defense plays anywhere near where it played this year, I think the Chargers, really good. McDaniel's a big part of that.
Is there any reason that you believe Clint Kubiak can change things in Vegas, or is it just another long list of coaches that are going to struggle there?
Yeah, man, it's tough. I mean, it's from the top down. It's just been a bad franchise, and it's been a bad franchise for most of the last 40 years, and that's not easy to turn around now. I mean, the biggest as anything, you're drafting a quarterback number one overall. He needs to hit. If Mendoza can carry on what he did in college to the pros, I mean, almost like Joe Burrow, like that type of guy who was just unbelievable in college and then just does it in the pros too, it changes the whole outlook of the franchise. Look, the Houston Texans 3 years ago were one of the worst franchises in the NFL. They were maybe the worst. They were absolutely positively awful. They make a great head coach hire. C.J. Stroud, I know he's been up and down, but he was really good as a rookie. And everything changes. Your entire outlook changes. Same thing can happen with the Raiders. If Kubiak's the right guy, if Mendoza's the right guy, then it doesn't. The last 40 years doesn't matter. You can turn things around that quickly in the NFL. So I would bet against it just because the Raiders have been that bad. But there's hope. There's hope. And there's more hope than there is with a 74-year-old Pete Carroll and a 35-year-old Geno Smith. Let's put it that way.
In the scouts that you talk to and people around the league, are they mostly positive on Mendoza, or is it kind of a wait and see?
I think Mendoza's not viewed as like a Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May level guy. He a lot of that. I don't want to say system quarterback because at some point everybody's a system quarterback, other than like 5 guys on the planet. So, but he seems more system-ish than the rest. But I mean, all the intangibles he brings to the table, people like that. I mean, he has enough. I mean, he doesn't have a howitzer of an arm like a Justin Herbert, but he's got enough of an arm. He does everything well enough. And at some point, when you go 16-0 at Indiana or 15-0 or whatever they went, I mean, that says a lot. And I think that just what he's put on film is pretty darn good. And I think definitely worth the Raiders taking the first pick. You gotta swing at some point, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable gamble for them to make. He's done it in college. You got to see if that can translate to the pros, but I don't see there being any reason it can't. Like, do I think he's ever going to be MVP of the league? Probably not. But the Super Bowl champions have a quarterback who probably isn't in anybody's top 10. So you can win in different ways. You just need a good, solid quarterback, and I think he could definitely be that.
Before we let you go, I understand there's not a lot of people out there that actually feel sorry for Bill Belichick, but not going to the Hall of Fame after what he's been able to accomplish, is that something that will lead to some changes with voting?
It should. The Hall of Fame voting's been bad for a while. Like, I hate to say it because I respect a lot of guys in that room, but it's been broken since Terrell Owens didn't get in either of his first 2 opportunities. Like, that was just voters saying, we don't like you, and we're going to punish you. And I wonder if the same thing happened with Belichick. All of us wonder that. I mean, Belichick wasn't the cuddliest, friendliest guy with the media. I mean, there's no other reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. No. You could not give me one football reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. I don't care. What are we doing here? Come on. Like, that's so ridiculous to think that that's a reason. I just think that I don't know the Hall of Fame. Look, everybody's had their own theories on what happened and the voting process or whatever. I just wonder if voters, because they got a free pass for T.O., because T.O. is not like, I don't know why, but they got a pass, I think, for T.O. They didn't get ripped as much as they should have for T.O. not getting in his first 2 times. That they just didn't realize the blowback here. They didn't realize that this was such an egregiously bad decision that it was going to be like, hey, we might need to shake it up and get rid of some of these voters. Like, I don't think they ever saw that coming. And so they were like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had anybody say this. I don't know this for a fact. But I think it's possible that a lot of those guys were like, yeah, screw Bill Belichick. He wasn't nice to us. We're not going to vote for him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the entire world is mad at us now for this. We screwed up. I really like it. You wonder, because again, you cannot make an argument why Bill Belichick's on the Hall of Fame. You can't. No. You literally cannot make an argument. And for them to hold him out and, oh, you can only vote for so many guys and you got to get Roger Craig in because he's bad. I don't care. Any excuse you can make is a bad one because any theory that leads to Bill Belichick wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer tells me it was wrong. Like, it just is it's inexcusable. And I think they kind of I honestly don't think they expected this kind of blowback. Or I just think that maybe they didn't think that, 11 guys wouldn't, maybe I'm going to be the one to not vote for Bill Belichick, but 10 other guys won't. And then it just bit them because it's probably the worst Hall of Fame vote I've ever seen in any sport. We can argue about Barry Bonds and all that, but Bill Belichick not going in on the first ballot is the worst Hall of Fame vote I can ever remember. And I think that there should be some accountability here. We don't even know who didn't vote for him. And I think that's ridiculous. If you are part of that group that votes for Hall of Fame, your vote should be public. Yeah, so let's get it out there. You should not be doing this in private whatsoever.
Is that once you become one of the voters, do you have it for life until you give it up, or what is there a term? How does that? I don't even know how that works. No,
there's no term. I don't know exactly. I couldn't tell you the inner workings of how that group gets turned over when it does. But most of the guys in that room have been in that room for a long time, and it doesn't change very often. So I don't know exactly the process as far as changing voters or moving voters, any of that. I just know that usually once guys are on that panel, they stay there for a long, long time.
Yeah, yep. Well, Frank, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for your time, and let's do it again here soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
You got it. Frank Schwab, Yahoo Sports.